Oh,
That's my
I've never heard that before, Jake.
That's my share. I've never really spoke to anyone about it. Like some of my like closest friends don't really know probably some parts of that. So yeah.
Oh, hope you guys appreciate our honesty here.
How about you?
Okay.
Darkest
So,
darkest
my
time.
darkest time. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. Jake, before we get into this podcast, I just want to talk about how excited I am for tomorrow. Are you excited?
I actually am super buzzing. I said to you earlier that I haven't trained legs today just because I want to be ready for tomorrow. But I am gonna have to do another workout later. I might have to go for a run. So
No. What, today?
Yeah, today.
Oh, I thought you meant tomorrow, and I was like,
And
no,
tomorrow.
but tomorrow you can do an inside one.
Yeah. So I could just go do yoga.
You could just
I'll
do
go
yoga inside.
Yoga inside. That's what I might do, I think. Or I might just go do an upper body, or like I don't know.
think you want to do an upper body. There's loads of monkey bars. Anyway, guys, we haven't even told you what we're doing.
Yeah.
So basically, we're doing this nuts challenge. And we'd booked I can't even speak. So me and a couple of my clients had booked this maybe 4 months ago. And we were like, yeah, we'll get prepared for it. All of a sudden it's here. And we're like, holy crap. But one of my clients had to drop out. So I was like, Jake, let's fucking do it. So got you on it. And now it's tomorrow. And I'm nervous because I've never done any challenge like this. I've never done a Tough Mudder. I've never done anything like this. And then
Nor have I.
Naomi, one of my ladies, said to me yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah, she said to me yesterday, people use this nuts challenge as a qualifier for higher challenges. So that's what's made me a little bit nervous. It's like, right, hang on a minute. If people are using this for like more beastie challenges, it's got to be hard.
So I don't really think about things like this before I do them, and that's sometimes like stupid, but I have had a look. I can't speak either. I have had a look, and it looks pretty nuts, like hence the name. It looks really good. I'm really excited. I've been wanting to do something like this for a long time, and I don't know, how have me and you not done one of these?
Yeah, I know. I don't know.
And I couldn't remember.
I think after this, I'm going to get hooked and we're going to book some more.
I couldn't remember what it was called, and I kept searching Mud Run. I thought it was called Mud Run, and literally I couldn't find it, and I was getting so frustrated. I was like Googling Mud Run, and it just kept coming up with Tough Mudders and shit. But yeah, it's called the Nuts Challenge, right?
Yeah.
But it essentially is a mud run. You're running in the mud and diving headfirst into mud and climbing over
stuff and like using your body. I think we've got to carry a tire up something and then slide down the other side.
I love that. I'm really looking forward to it, and like it'll be cool to hang out with some of your clients. It'd be cool to hang out with your clients as well, you and your clients, and a little bit of a different day for me, meeting some new people, which will be nice.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. So that's super exciting.
Yeah.
Totally different to the topic that we've got today. Well, no, it's a good thing, and this is something that makes us happy.
Yeah.
So guys, today we're going to be talking about mental health. We're going to give you kind of a little insight into our mental health and what we do to help ours, what we do to like help ourselves stay happy.
Yeah.
And then we're going to give you, because obviously we're not qualified professionals in this, but we're going to give you a bit of advice on kind of what we like with experience and everything like that, on kind of things that maybe you can take away from this and can help you develop yourself.
100%.
So let's start with, I think, Jake, we should start with getting the negative.
We're getting deep straight away.
Yeah. Let's just go deep. And then we can be a lot calmer. So we're going to give you, which is going to be weird for us as well, I think. We're going to give you our darkest time.
Yeah, so chucking me right in the deep end. I think obviously when we do podcasts like this, when it's just me and you, we kind of have a rough plan of like where we want to go with the podcast. And I'll be honest to you guys listening, we didn't really think this through. I just said, why don't we just share our darkest time? And I haven't really thought much about it. So I thought we can just kind of think of it on the podcast. And I've had a little think the last like 10 minutes, and I don't really know where I'm going with this one. So I think the darkest time for me, probably, I would say it's not like linked to anything. Actually, no, it probably is linked to something in particular. So when I was about 17, my granddad died of cancer.
Okay.
He was very young. He was very healthy. And I'd got quite close to him in the like years leading up to it. My parents are separated, and my dad doesn't live in the city I live in. So this is my mum's dad, and he was like a father figure at times. So that like kind of sent me a bit into a shit situation. I was at college, going out, doing drugs, getting fucked up.
Honesty. Let's have it. Let's have
And
it.
like that shit puts you into a state of anxiety. It doesn't help. Like when you're at that age, you're confused, you're struggling. I'm sure lots of people can relate to this. And I just stopped going to college. I didn't really want to be at college, didn't really know what was going on. I had a girlfriend at the time, and things were starting to go wrong with her. Like we at first were like really good, and over the period of that period, over that kind of 2-year period from like 17 to 19, I at some point in there, I was put onto like antidepressants. And at that time, I thought I was a freak. Like I
Oh,
at that time, like I remember thinking like you're fucked up. Like there's something wrong with your brain. Like they didn't really explain to me that like being depressed isn't necessarily just like a condition of the brain. You can just be unhappy. And I think for me, like a lot of it came down to just like my environment. And I don't want to touch on too much there because it comes into like stuff we'll talk on later. But I went through a period of 2 years like where I was just kind of lost, didn't really know what I was doing. I wasn't happy. And for a long time I felt like a weirdo, and I've never really shared this with anyone, to be honest. So I'm kind of sharing it today, but I felt like a weirdo for a long time because I thought there was something wrong with me. And I thought like being depressed meant that I had something like wrong with my brain. And in reality, like there's a quote that I heard on the James Smith podcast the other day. He did an episode with Ben Carpenter, and he said something. Ben said something that I thought was really interesting. And he said, are you depressed, or are you living a life that is depressing? And I look back now and I realized that it was my life that was depressing. I wasn't happy where I was. I wasn't happy who I was with. And I wasn't really like, I wasn't really happy with where I was going. And I think like looking back now, like hindsight is such a wonderful thing, but like if you're struggling with a dark time now, some of those things are important to look at. And some of the stuff we're going to talk about today will relate to that. But yeah, I think like looking back to a dark time, I realized that I wasn't actually depressed. My life was just actually a bit depressing.
yeah. Oh,
That's my
I've never heard that before, Jay.
that's my share. I've never really spoke to anyone about it. Like some of my like closest friends don't really know probably some parts of that. So yeah.
Oh, hope you guys appreciate our honesty here. Um,
How about
right,
you?
okay,
Darkest
so my
darkest time.
darkest time would be when I was living in London. Okay, so when I first moved to London, obviously I came from was I living at home with my mum and dad? Yeah, I'd been away. So I moved to London. I'd been away in Greece. working in the summer, went home, lived with mum and dad for a few months, and then moved to London. The first year of living in London, that's when I started losing losing weight. And then it got addictive. And then it escalated into this crazy obsession with calories and restrict to eating so much on the weekends that I wouldn't say I would make myself sick. I wouldn't say I had like severe bulimia. Like, I didn't make myself sick every time I ate. I didn't, but I would restrict during the week, and I would eat so much on the weekend that I would just sick it all up again. And also living in London, my partner, he would go away. So there was were we there for 2 summers? I can't remember. But anyway, he goes and works back in Greece because he has a club over in Greece. So he goes and works there. So I was also in a flat, tiny little flat on my own in Notting Hill. I started being a PT, which I loved. Like, that was my one thing I loved. But that was the only thing that I loved about being in London. So that was, and also played a part in my obsession, because it's to do with fitness. So I was there 6-7 days a week training, at work all the time. That's all I did. And living in Notting Hill on your own is way too expensive. So I had also, money played a big part in it. And I was just so unhappy. Like, I would cry a lot. And it was really bad because, like, Dan would be away in the summer and I'd ring him up crying. And that's like all the time. And that's like so shit for him as well, because he's trying to work in the summer and like spend some time with his friends and things like that. And I would just be crying. But yeah, so that for me is my darkest time. So that's when I was like, when luckily we had a friend in Southampton. He said, do you want to come live with us? And I don't know whether he was joking. He was FaceTimed us. We'd gone on holiday. He FaceTimed us and was like, oh guys, why don't you come? I just went, yeah. Dan went, what? I went, yeah, let's go. And he went, Colgate, I think we're moving in. And that was it. And we were out of London. I even went to some therapy in London. I did not realize what therapy was going to be like. It was like, it wasn't like, I didn't go through the doctors or anything. I paid, and I went to someone that someone had recommended me, and I spent this whole hour and a half crying my eyes out. And it was like, it was so weird. And then when I moved to Southampton, obviously she was in London, and she said, we can try if we want. You can try if you want FaceTime things. We did one and I hated it. Therapy over FaceTime does not, it might work for some people, sorry, but it didn't work for me. But I found that when I moved to Southampton anyway, like, and I got into the gym group and I started meeting all you guys, and it made me feel so much better. So that's my darkest time. Did you know that, Jake?
I mean,
all the ins and outs.
I knew parts of that for sure, but not to that detail. And just interestingly on that, like, a big correlation from that to mine is the beginning part of my story. When my granddad died, etc., I wasn't in London, but I did move to London. And over time in London, due to some of the similar problems, like feeling lonely, like, you're in a big city, there's so many people, but you can feel lonely there. Unless like things are going really well, it can feel really, really not good there. And I personally think London's a great place. I love it. But like, when I was there, similar to you, like, I was a bit younger, and like, money was an issue as well. And that's when I started to feel really, really like down. And there was a period actually where, after what I was just thinking, I forgot about this. I was working for a company. I used to work in accounting, for anyone that doesn't know. I had 6 weeks off work because I was like, one day I went to work and I got there and I just couldn't go in. I just couldn't go in. And for me, that's when I went off traveling, left the country. So so yeah, like that, I guess that was over like a 4-year period that I was not feeling good. But like, I ran away and left the country and like ran away from my problems, ran away from like life. And it's interesting to think back, like only on this podcast, I'm thinking London was a big part of what made me unhappy. So it's interesting for you to say that, like for us to like kind of realize that those two things like link up.
Yeah.
Do you think you could be happy in London if you had a lot more money? And I know money is not always the issue, but sometimes I think in London, unless you have quite a lot of expendable income, you can really work into a state of stress and anxiety because you're worried about going out because everything's expensive there.
Yeah.
And I know that because I was just there for a weekend.
I think I think I could I think I could live there. I don't know, because I think I was in a different situation. Like, me and Dan are not going to go live in a shared house. So like, I think if I was like, I don't know. Yeah, I suppose if we had more money, I think I do like London. I don't know.
It's tough, right? I think something that I've just thought of is that environment plays a big part in mental health. And if you feel that this is a big reason why, like, when people are alcoholics and go to rehab and stuff, when they go home, most of the time they all fall back into alcoholism or drug abuse because like they don't change the environment. So environment plays a big part, and I think for both of us, getting out was just that release from like our environment that we needed to change, whether it was like London or not that affected us. Like, having a big change can really help
Yeah,
change things, right?
yeah, definitely. As soon as I got out of London, I felt a sigh of relief.
I know I went first for the darkest time. Would you like to go first for the happiest time, or do you want me to?
I don't mind. Do you want me to go?
Yeah, go on then.
So happiest time. This is really hard. I found this harder than the darkest time.
100%. I think like dark times like really stick with you. So
Happiest time. One of the happiest. I don't know.
shall I go first?
Go
Because
first.
like you, I can't really pinpoint a happiest time.
Yeah.
There's been lots of little things, and there's lots of really good things I like about my life right now. And I think there's no like one set happiest time. But I think just after like feeling depressed, being down, going traveling
Yes.
was
No.
such
Go
a
on. Sorry.
happy time for me, because I think going back to that quote that I said, like, are you depressed or are you living a depressing life, or a life that is depressing? Life became, and this wasn't the answer, traveling is not the answer, but it's such a good experience. You learn so much, and every day is something new and interesting. And one of the big things is that, like, if you're bored, you can become very unhappy. And traveling was just so different for me. I was going to these crazy places. I was getting drunk a lot, like having fun though, but having real fun with new people and exciting people, and people on a similar wavelength, and climbing mountains and just things I'd never like really done before in such a massive amount of things in such a short amount of time. Like, I was just constantly doing things. And another like quote from that same podcast that I picked up, I wrote these two down because I thought these two were really brilliant. This one is James Smith actually said it, but it's a Tim Ferriss quote, and it's that I can't speak. The opposite of happiness is boredom. And I think that's really, really true. And if you flip that on its head, the opposite of boredom is happiness. Like when I was traveling, I was so happy most of the time because I just was never bored. I was constantly, there was stuff in my life going on that I was enjoying. It was just
Yeah.
filled with like enjoyment, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's probably my happiness time. I can't think of other stuff right now, but like it definitely was a happy time.
Yeah. Do you know what? I totally fucking agree with you. Just before we moved to Southampton, we went to, it wasn't months like you were traveling, but we'd went on a massive holiday to America, and I had the best time ever. I, like you, was constantly doing stuff. I was never bored. Because I was enjoying myself, I then forgot all about my near eating disorder. So kind of just enjoyed myself, not overdid it, but I kind of like everything. I was just so relaxed, and it literally was the best time. So then from that to come, I think that is what made me say when Colgate said, I don't know whether he's joking, but whether he said, "Do you want to move in?" And I just went, "Yes," because I think I just experienced some absolute happiness that I was like, "Yeah, that's what I need."
And you realize you couldn't go back to that old life.
Yeah, no.
So interesting for both of us that both of our happiest times were bang after our
Right
worst time.
after our worst times.
Interesting that, isn't it?
Yeah.
So just following on from that, let's say in today's world, because we're not always constantly traveling, it's not possible. So what do you do to, like, what do you think like brings you happiness now? Or like, what do you do to be happy?
What do I do to be happy? I make sure, I was thinking this the other day when I was walking in the woods. I like to be in nature. So like walking, we always try and do our dog walks in the woods because it's beautiful. It's just so relaxing. So I would say one thing I do is make sure I get out in nature, get outside. I think that makes me really happy. Spending time with friends and family. What else do I do to make me happy?
I mean, they're pretty good answers.
I think, yeah, just spend time. Make sure spend time with friends and family and get outdoors. I think.
I think they're both things that people can like, you can really forget. And this sounds really weird to like forget to see your family and friends, but like it's easy to like go a whole weekend or a whole week without like speaking to a loved one or a friend, because like sometimes you're busy with work and that. But like if you're really actively trying to make those things happen in your life, I think that you can create a lot of happiness that wasn't there before. So the things that you said, definitely, I like, me and you are pretty similar. So I think the same for me. One of the things I've noticed and I've thought about, I know I'm doing the 75 hard challenge. So one of the things I've noticed with me is like, I'm quite content when I'm working towards something. So like for me at the moment, I'm quite happy. And a lot of that comes down to the business aspect, like being busy and doing this challenge. It's really like, it's given me something to work towards. Like, I know I've got my job, I've got lots of things like, but this challenge, I think challenges are sometimes really good because they make you work to become better. And when you're working on yourself, I think it's quite easy to be happy. I think some of the things I've realized from doing this challenge is that, and I've thought about these things before, but like when energy expenditure goes up massively, anxiety comes down. And when I've got low anxiety or depression, generally I'm pretty happy. So like times when I'm really not moving, I generally have higher anxiety, and I feel more depressed about my problems. But when I'm really fucking knackered, like you don't have the energy to worry about the small little things. So those, like, you just don't have as many worries because you're not stressing about it. And then another one, which is something that often I think brings me happiness, going out with friends and stuff like that. Drinking alcohol regularly really increases anxiety. And I've noticed recently, I used to think that it would increase my anxiety the day after or 2 days after, for, like, your hangover day. But
Yeah.
I don't think my anxiety ever comes down to like zero, ever, if I'm drinking once a week. So if I binge drink on a weekend, it takes me 2 days to get over it. And then even like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm kind of like still a bit anxious and weird. And since I've taken out alcohol completely, my happiness has gone up massively. And I'm not saying I'm not going to stop drink. I'm not going to not drink forever, because it can be fun. But I don't know, if you've never really had a period of time where you haven't drunk, I would kind of advise people to give it a go and see what happens. Because I know, like, you still drink, but you don't drink very often.
Hardly ever.
And when you do drink, like, you notice your anxiety go up, or like,
yeah, massively. But then yeah. So now, because I very rarely drink, like, I've not been meaning to, but when the hell was the last time I got drunk? I think when I went to see, oh no, I know when it was. It was July, beginning of July, maybe, when I went out with a meal with another couple.
And that was
like
two months ago.
I very rarely drink, but when I do, yes, I feel anxiety. But I've usually enjoyed the night. That's how I feel now.
Yeah.
Even though I get anxiety for the next few days, and I really do, I totally agree with you there. It's because I don't do it often. It's always been for a reason, so it's always a lovely night.
And what I've done, like, in that, like, what's helped my happiness, I've started doing other things. Like, I've been forced to do other things, and things I really enjoy as well. Like, I've tried a few different gyms recently. I went to London for the like, fitness event. And all of these things I haven't drunk on, and even went trampolining the other day. Like, I know you couldn't come in the end, but like, things like that I wouldn't have done. I would have just gone out with the boys and got drunk. But like, I'm forcing myself to do a few other things, and I'm having such a good time. It's really easy to fall into the trap of just going out with your friends and getting drunk. But like, generally, that's not the thing that brings you happiness.
And do you know what also brings me happiness? Trying, I know this is, but nice food.
Ooh.
I am such a foodie. So like, at the moment, because I've got this photo shoot, obviously it's at the moment I'm not, but I'm actually really enjoying it because I've got that to work to. I've only got 3 weekends left.
Like I said, a little challenge it can be fun.
Yeah. But as soon as, like, I've got so the photo shoot's on the Friday. On the Saturday, me and Dan are going to London. We're going to see Pretty Woman on the Saturday night, and we've booked to go to STK before, and it's this really good steak place, and I just can't wait to put some really nice tasting steak in my mouth.
I think
I love food, so I think I also make sure that I do go to nice places and have nice food, because that does make me happy.
So definitely a lot of people can relate to that one for sure, because that's why we all get into situations where we put on weight, because we all love food a lot. So it's like, yeah, that's definitely a happiness point. And then another thing we said, that we were talking about this before, like, another point of happiness is, like, it's good to be happy, but also you need to find meaning in your life. And like, a one big thing that we said creates meaning is something like contributing to something that is larger than yourself. And I think we both agreed that, like, something we do is our job. Like, our job, we feel we are in this job to make people's lives better. Like, that's all we want to do. And for us, like, that's contributing to something bigger than ourselves. And I think that both brings us a lot of fulfillment. So I think one thing to focus on if you're listening to this, if you feeling a little bit lost or unhappy or anything we've really spoke about today, I don't know why I said tonight. It's not even the night time. Are you contributing to something like bigger than yourself?
I think that is such a good point. That was, yeah. I love like we both love our jobs and we love helping other people. When I get up in the morning, I love getting up and going to work and
I mean,
thinking,
you wouldn't get up. You wouldn't get up at 4:30 a.m. or whatever time you get up if you didn't love it, right? Like you get up earlier than me. You're up at like 4:30.
yeah. I get up at 4:30. So my client said to me the other day, she went to me, because she usually does evenings, and she came in at 9 a.m. She looked tired. I went, "Are you all right?" She's like, "Why am I here this early?" She went, "How the hell do you get up at 4:30 every day during the week?" And I said, "Because I love training and helping you guys." And then her face just like brightened up. And it's so true though. That's how I get up. I love my job. I love helping other people.
That's I think a great way to end that kind of segment of what we're talking about.
Yeah,
Just
definitely.
to hear that you love helping what you do, and that is going to bring you happiness.
100%. So, wrapping up our little segment, talking about us. Obviously, I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the podcast that we aren't professionals. This isn't like the cure for mental health, but we're going to go through a few. We both can't speak. We are going to go through a few different things that you can kind of take away from this, and maybe think that you guys can work on, and this can help you and help develop yourself and help become happier people.
So some of the self-development stuff that we thought was like good to talk about was like daily tasks that you can do, and daily tasks that we do that definitely help contribute towards better mental health.
So one that I think is super important is the steps. Like, not even calling them steps, just go for a walk outside. Like, there's nothing worse than being, and I know you guys might think that you want to have a day where you're sat on the sofa and you love it and you're watching TV. But if you think about it long term, if you think like how happy you are, and look at how many days a week you don't go outside, there could be some connection there.
100%. That I think
Like,
that's huge.
When I speak to like some of my clients and what have you, and how confident they are, and how we look at how much they go outside, and it's usually quite little, and it's like, oh, I walk to work. Well, you're walking from your home, which you've just got out of bed. You're walking to work, which you're then going to be inside and you're working all day. And then all you're going to do is walk home. I wouldn't really, unless it's like an hour and a half, like walk where you can kind of just, but that's nothing.
If it's
Like,
less than half an hour, that's not
it's,
enough.
and also you're walking to something to then to work. Like, what I mean by getting outside is relax. Go outside and go for a nice walk listening to this podcast. But
Yeah.
just put on your favorite album, meet a friend, grab a coffee, go for a nice walk by the beach, just really sit down and think, are you as happy as you want to be? And see if there is a connection, and see how many times a week you do go outside and how often you are sat inside. I think there will be a big connection to that.
Yeah, 100%. And I think obviously like a big load of what you spoke about there was like getting outside, and like being outside in nature is amazing for mental health. Like it really does help. But another part of that is like, if you're not outside, then you are just sat down. And when you're just sat down, you're not using any energy. So like I said earlier, like if you have too much energy, you can think too much. So
Yeah.
those things don't help. So another thing we think you should do daily, not necessarily daily, but a good amount per week, is going to the gym. Like going to the gym not only contributes to your goals, so you're going to be happy because you're working towards what you want to be working towards, but like the gym uses a lot of energy as well. So you can get your stresses out, go lift something fucking heavy, and you'll feel good about yourself. You'll feel really good that you've gone to the gym, you've worked towards your goals, you can see improvement, but like you'll just feel good.
Yeah. Totally agree. Another daily task, like I don't do this every day, but like we've spoke about this before, get writing down some affirmations, some things you love about yourself, some things, I don't know, goals you've got. Like just get writing some stuff down that will that you want and will help benefit you, and some nice things. Because we
I think
always think so, we like a lot of people think so negatively. Let's get some positivity in there.
100%. I think people think this shit's really hippie, like
They
like
do,
a
they
bit,
do.
a bit, a bit like kind of loose and crazy. But like this stuff, like talking positively about yourself, really actually works. Like you, you can't think positively if you beat yourself up all the time, like mentally in your own head, not physically. If you punch yourself, that definitely isn't good either.
I did a hang on, which post was it? I did a post recently. Where was it? Hang on. Yeah. So I'd done this. I think you've seen it. My reel where I'm mouthing Ursula, and I felt so fucking sassy. It's unbelievable. So in my like in the what do you call them, like tagline? What do you call it? Like the
The caption.
caption. In the caption, I wrote fucking badass bitch. And I just thought like, and it just made me like, I came out of, so I'd done that reel at work, and I'd filmed that at work. I came out of the room and I was like, I have just filmed a fucking good reel. I said to Deborah at work, I was like, I feel awesome. I've just done such a good reel. I feel so sassy. But it's like, and like it's things like that. You have got to big yourself up.
I've not thought about this yet, and we haven't written this down anywhere, but confidence, like the way what you're saying there to me is just like speaking positively about yourself, like means you're confident about yourself. And confidence, I think a lot of like unhappiness as well, like especially in my life, has come from times I'm not confident, or like I don't feel like a winner. I feel like a loser. And
Yeah,
if you're constant, that is true though, isn't it?
it's so
If you're
true.
beating yourself down all the time, you're just creating a bigger and bigger loser in your own mind.
Yeah,
Like, and if you think you're a loser, you're not going to be happy for sure.
yeah, 100%.
Um, I have another one written down that this one's complete contrast. Well, not contrast, but like it's different. Food. I think a lot of people eat shit food, and
Massively.
we talk a lot about variety in food, but I think some people go like maybe some people like we train and people a lot of people really in the gym world are good with food, but like a lot of people live off processed shit and they don't get their fruit and veg and multivitamins and the stuff that's going to make you feel really good day to day. You're lacking in nutrients, and if you know that's you, you should address your food, because like if you watch probably Haley's stories more than mine, but like if you watch both of our stories, you're going to see lots of vegetables. You're going to see a balance of like foods that actually make you feel good, rather than just process things constantly, because those they don't have the
If you have
multivitamins. You're
a
going to be lacking in something if you.
like, yeah, if you have a Greg's sausage roll for brekkie, a meal deal from Tesco's from
Mhm.
like a store bought sandwich, and a takeaway for dinner, that is just utter shit. You don't know what's going in it. And I'm not saying that I never have a Greg's sausage
Yeah,
roll. And I'm not saying I never have a meal deal sandwich, because I definitely do for ease sometimes. But balance, like you want the majority of your foods to be good and full of vitamins and minerals and all that kind of stuff that helps you. And then you can have some of the bloody processed stuff sometimes. But yeah, if you're feeling down and unhappy, take a look at your diet.
Yeah, for sure.
Because there will be a big connection.
So the kind of first point of like things for self-development were daily tasks that you can do. So they were all kind of like daily tasks, I guess. Another point is doing things that you love. Like, are you doing stuff you love?
Yes.
I touched on this earlier when I was like, now I've stopped drinking. I've started to do things I enjoy. And like tomorrow we're going to do this mud run, and you might think, oh, I don't like the mud and running. There's zero chance we're going to finish the race tomorrow and not feel happy. We're going to feel fucking great. And by the way, episode will be out after the mud run. So go look at our Instagrams and see our stupid faces covered in mud, because I'm sure we'll definitely have some posts on this. So like doing things you enjoy is fucking, it sounds so stupid, but you definitely could plan in more things that you enjoy. You probably aren't like putting enough effort into like actually doing things that make you happy.
100%. Doing things you love. Like what I make sure that, like, this sounds okay. So going back to like my darkest time, I would obviously, when I was in like the whole thing with eating and stuff, I would not go to the cinema because I would associate with that with I need popcorn and snacks. I would like stuff like that. So now I'm making sure I'm going to the cinema because I fucking want to see Shang-Chi. So I'm going either Sunday or next weekend. And I don't care about having the popcorn. I'm going to the cinema. And like I'm just like, just do things that you love doing. Like go for coffee with your friends. Just do stuff for you. Put on, like, even if you want to get a glass of wine, grab a glass of wine, put some candles on, get a nice lush bath bomb, get a bath. That is something else I love doing. Minus a wine, because I'm not a massive wine fan. But I like the candles and the bath bomb. But just make sure you're doing things that you love to do.
And sometimes I think like sometimes it obviously it's not as simple sometimes as what we're just saying, but like you do sometimes have to just work a little bit harder on yourself, because it's really easy to be like, oh, I don't want to go out. I'm feeling anxious. Like I don't want to go. You just have to work through these problems. You have to force yourself to do more things you enjoy, because you know deep down that once you've done that thing, you're going to have a smile on your face at the end of the day. Like if you're nervous about going out, if you're nervous about going somewhere, if you're nervous about the new people that you're going to meet there, like you just have to force yourselves into to do these things. If you do more things, I promise you, you will be happier.
100%. And that kind of leads into the next point. Like, are you making enough effort with relationships, friends, family? Like, are you being alone? Like, do you feel alone and kind of think, is it your fault?
Yeah.
Like, are you putting enough effort in with people?
So
Because yeah, fair enough, they need to put effort in with you, but you need equal amounts. It can't just always be them. Like, you do need to put in the effort. And if you're feeling alone, have a look at why. Maybe you have in the last month been asked 5 times to go for something, but every time you said no.
So one thing we touched on earlier was like how to find meaning. And we said contributing to something larger than ourselves. Now, like in relationships, ask yourself this now. Do you have a meaningful role within your relationships? So look at your friends, look at your family, look at your partner. Like, do you have a meaningful role in these? Because if the answer is yes, I'm pretty sure you're going to feel happy and content, because if you're a mum and you take a lot of care of your kids, you're going to be happy about that. And if you're a friend, and if you're always looking out for your friends, and if you're the one that they rely on, you're going to feel happy about that. If you're in a relationship and your relationship's going shit, there's two people to blame there. Like, you both, it might be that your partner's a dick And a lot of the time, like, we'll give advice to people saying, like, sack your partner off, they're a loser. But like, do you wake up in the morning, give your partner a kiss? Like, do you go make a cup of tea for them? Do you put the effort in to do those, like, those things that, like, if you give love, you reciprocate love. That is, I don't know where that just came from, but
Look at you, Jake.
but like, if you put in effort, like you said,
100%.
you're going to have a meaningful role in life because you're going to be meaningful to a lot of people.
Yeah, 100%. It can't, like, you need to put effort in. It can't just be other people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you've got to, and I think, like, sometimes, like, relationships are so hard, like, not just with partners, like friends and everything, like, and you just need, like, just sit down and think, have I seen them this week? Have I don't know, bought them? Are they the ones that are just buying me coffee? Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just have a look at things and just make sure that you are putting in effort.
Yeah, because you're right there, because like, it's actually really easy to just overlook that and be like, oh, they're a shit friend, but then not really look into what you're doing. Because like, one of the things I do now, like, now that I like journal and write down, like, plan my weeks at the beginning of a week, I analyze my last week and I look forward to the next week. And one of the things I always write down is a friends and family little area, and I write down what I'm going to do that week to increase the value of my relationships. So whether
I
it's just
love that.
like, see my, like, obviously everyone has a lot of family members or friends or people in their lives, but just pick a couple of people in your like closest circle and try and work on that relationship this week. Next week it can be different people. So like, this week maybe I put the effort in to go make sure I meet my mum, and then I make sure maybe I meet one of my sisters. And this week it's about them. Can I build more of a relationship with them? Or maybe it's one of your friends. Like, maybe, I don't know. You can just always put in more effort, and like, it's really easy. I always do this, by the way. I'm definitely not a perfect friend or family member or whatever, but like, it's really good to put more effort into those relationships. You'll definitely feel a lot of rewarding, like, satisfaction, I guess is the word,
Yeah,
if you actually put the effort in.
definitely. And I think the last point we have written down is talk to people. If you're feeling down, talk it out. There is times where me and Jake have stuff, a lot of the times I do, I have stuff on my mind and I go off on a rant. But then after the rant, I feel so much better and it's off my chest and I don't think about it anymore. And vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
You, Jake, sometimes talk to me about stuff that you're feeling shit about or something. And that's so important. You need to speak to people. You need to talk things out, even if it's the tiniest thing and you feel that they might think you're being stupid. You're not, because everyone's situations are different. So a tiny thing for you, like a tiny thing for someone else, might be a big thing for you. So you need to get it out. It needs
I,
to be spoken about.
and this is, do you know what? I can't believe, like, when people talk about mental health, yeah, all they ever talk about is you should speak more, you should talk more. We've just gone like nearly a whole hour podcast without even mentioning it till the end. I love that we like had lots of other things to talk about, which is cool. But it is true, like, talking, you do need to talk through your problems. And sometimes I think this is a bit of a bullshit like answer, but I think a lot of that like comes down to the fact that I'm not necessarily truly honest with when I talk. So like, if I do have a problem and I try to talk to someone, I don't know if I really actually tell all the truth. I think sometimes, like, you have to be honest with your problem, and actually, if you're a guy especially, don't just hang out with your mate and be like, oh yeah, bit of a shit day, the girlfriend's yeah, caused me problems. Do you know what I mean? That's not getting it out. Like, to actually be honest about your problem. And like, I don't know, if you're struggling, I don't really know from a girl's perspective, but from a guy's perspective, we definitely say that we talk, but we definitely don't talk properly. So like, actually be honest and be a bit vulnerable. Like, just try and speak to your friend or family member properly, and yeah, see what happens.
Yeah, I think talking about stuff is so important. I think, but yeah, no, I know what you mean. Usually everyone says talk, but we have left that till last because we have had so much more to say.
Yeah. I've loved this podcast. It's been good.
Yeah,
Do
I
you know
think this has
why?
been a great episode.
Because we've
Why?
talked. We've talked
Yeah, I know.
about our problems.
Yeah, no, it's really nice.
That's
What a
actually
way, what a thing to do on a Friday afternoon.
100%
I feel really good.
finish the week with a chat. I think
Yeah.
yeah, if there was ever a point that showed that talking is so good, it's like our podcast, because every single week we'll have stresses and we have like bad times, and times even when we don't even want to do the podcast, maybe because we're stressed when we come on. But whenever we finish the podcast, all we've done is had a conversation, and there's never been a time I've got off and not been happy.
It's good. Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. So, yeah, guys, I really hope you take something from this episode and sit down and look at your life basically and see what you can do to better it, to make yourself happier. And we will see you next week. And I do believe we've got a guest, haven't we?
We do have a guest next week, a really good one. So
Ooh, I'm excited.
I don't want to say who it is yet, actually. Actually, you should.
No,
Yeah.
don't say.
Okay, I won't say it because it's not fully in place. Yeah.
Well,
We'll just leave it. It's a good one. We'll tease it on Instagram. But yeah.
But yeah, thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.